Okay, and we are recording. So welcome everybody to our Cohort 16 meeting. That's exciting news on this June day. What you're seeing on the screen right now is our orientation agenda. So today we'll go through a welcome, which will start in just a moment. We'll do an overview of the program, first steps, support monitoring and attendance, professional development, budgets and finance, data and evaluation, and then of course there'll be time for questions throughout, but then also questions at the end. So with that being said, I guess I assumed everybody knows me, but I'll start with an introduction of myself. I'm Crystal Hall with the Iowa After School Alliance. We have a contract with Vic at the Department of Education to be able to support the work that you all do in this grant. And we're very much looking forward to working with you if you're new, and working with you again, or continuing to work with you for the familiar faces on the screen. So if it's okay with you, I think I'll go ahead and just maybe call you out according to how I see you on the screen. If you just want to talk about or say your name, what site you're with, and then if there's any other important piece of information you feel like you need to share this morning, go ahead and do that. So also, just as a reminder, if you came in after Vic said this, if you would be so kind to put your name, your site, and your cell phone number into the chat, that would be greatly appreciated. I will download all of these materials to make sure that we have that information. So Loris, I'm going to have you kick it off for us since you're first on my screen.
Okay. I'm Laura Sostraus. I'm director here with Clinton Schools, but stepping aside next Wednesday for retirement. But I have my replacement here, and I'll let him introduce himself next if you're okay with that.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. Go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, Laura, do you mind muting?
I can.
There we go. Okay.
All right, so my name is Joel Shagai. I'm with Clinton Community School, and I'm really excited and privileged to do my best to try to fill Laura's shoes. I worked for Laura's about 5 years ago. I was the coordinator at Whittier Elementary. And so now I'm coming back to serve as the director for the after school program. So I look forward to working with all of you and getting to know you better. Thank you.
Yeah, we're so glad you're joining the team. So thank you and welcome. Nikki, I have you next.
Good morning, Nikki Clausen. I'm with the Council Bluffs School District in Council Bluffs, Iowa.
Thanks, Nikki. Abby?
Abby Kempema with Beyond the Bell, which is through Siouxland Human Investment Partnership in Sioux City, Iowa.
Thanks, Abby. Jenna?
Good morning, Jenna Andrews, also with Beyond the Bell and SHIP in Sioux City.
Hi, Jenna. Heidi, I have you next.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Heidi Brown from Des Moines Public Schools.
Oh, Heidi, I think maybe we lost your audio. Okay. So Heidi with Des Moines Public Schools, and if you get a chance, Heidi, maybe you can pop into the
Crystal,
chat.
I think you're still muted.
Oh. Okay, Heidi, can you hear us okay? All right, having a little bit of technical difficulties, that's okay. How about Brittany? Do you want to just come on and say hello, Brittany?
Yeah, can you hear me okay, Crystal?
We sure can. Thanks, Brittany.
Great. Hi, everyone. Brittany Samuelson with the Iowa After School Alliance.
All right. And then last but not least, we have Vic Jarvis on.
Good morning, everyone. The good news is all these contracts for Cohort 16 have been approved and they're in the pipeline for finance. When you get your contract, if you'd send me a little email, because otherwise I don't know about it until it's been finalized. When you guys sign it and return it, then they send me a copy for my records. But I like to kind of tell how long it takes for the pipeline each year. So that would always be very helpful. So this is going to be kind of a brief overview, a lot shorter than when we used to do the in-person meetings, unless you have tons of questions, but welcome and
Yeah.
get started.
Great. So Vic, let me stop sharing so that you can share your screen and the slides for today. Also just want to let everybody know that after the call today, I will be sending out an email that has the agenda, the slide deck, all of the supporting materials so that you'll be able to have immediately in your hands everything that you're going to need for making this a great year. We'll also show you the websites where you can find all of this stuff. Again, for some of you who have kind of been around a while, this is probably going to be a little bit repetitive, but we'll try to make it as interesting as possible for you. So Vic, you should be able to share.
Okay, give me a sec here. Got to make sure that I am bringing up the correct PowerPoint.
Should be the one that I just emailed you this morning, Vic.
Oh, you emailed me one this morning.
Yeah.
Well, let me get that one then.
Okay.
Here it is. Okay, share screen. There we go. Can everybody see that? All right. Let's get started here. Our program is all about kids, and this program really makes a difference in the lives of kids every day. So it's important that you're focusing your program on serving their needs. Here's a brief overview of what we're going to talk about today. Overview of the program, some first steps, support and monitoring, with emphasis on attendance, professional development, budgets, finance, data, evaluation, and then questions. Okay, overview of the program, contract obligations, and we'll compare childcare with 21st century. Okay, this is a little bit small. And I don't think I can make it bigger. Well, we'll send a copy of this. Every year we do an infographic about the Iowa 21st century program. We talk about how many centers we have, how many kids. We went down a little bit. The numbers of kids we're serving is just under 13,000, but we're doing really well as far as making a difference. Our numbers are good in improving the achievement gap. We're serving more kids with disabilities, more kids where English is a second language, and that's a pretty good thing. Okay, this program provides you with an opportunity to make a difference in the lives of kids. And a lot of the kids we get, they've been called at-risk kids, and they just need a little extra help, that's all. So we provide in this program academic aid, enrichment activities, social emotional learning, nutritional food, and fun for kids who need it the most. And because you're getting these federal dollars, you're expected to build a model program of after school, and your data is shared with an online system, in committee calls, site visits, presentations. And you may have somebody that wants to see a 21st century program. So you may have some visitors. This is actually a federal title program. And there are, the title programs are all designed to help disadvantaged children. And this one is focused on after school and summer school programs. So right now we're in the last phase of our APR reporting. That was 3 times a year. We're going to move to a new system next year that's only going to be twice a year. And our measures are going to change, and they're going to focus on improvement rather than proficiency. Because let's look at reading. Sometimes we might have a child that is 2 grade levels behind in reading when they come into the program. And we work with them, and they've improved a whole grade level in a short period of time, but they didn't make proficiency on the test. And in the past, we had to report them as still not proficient. Well, now our measures are going to be a little bit better, that we can show we've made progress. We've improved a whole grade level. So if you follow the guidance we provide, you're going to be able to reach your kids. You're going to be able to increase attendance and reduce referrals, and overall improve the student achievement in your sites. We feel that the purpose of our program is to create a community learning centers that provide academic achievement, opportunities for kids, and particularly those in high poverty, low performing schools, to meet state and local standards. And we want to offer kids a broad array of enrichment activities, not only in the school, but also with field trips. And this complements the regular academic programs, and our focus primarily with academics is on literacy, because reading is the key to everything else in their futures. And when they become good, proficient readers, they will be able to make progress in all the other subjects. So popular activities that we have for enrichment are crafts, cooking, chess, STEM, outdoor activities, and community guests. And when I talk to the kids, the most popular program for them is always the cooking class. And a lot of the time that's because the kids get to eat in the cooking class. They're cooking, simple meals that the kids can do at home if mom and dad aren't there. Okay, a quality program will have measurable results. This is what we see when a program is running correctly, and they're doing all the things they're supposed to be doing. We see attendance increasing, even for those kids that are chronically absent. When I talk to the kids, they say, well, the only reason they come to school is because of this after-school program. And then over time, what happens is then when the kids are successful in after school, pretty soon they gain the confidence to be successful during the day. And we reconnect them with the importance of learning. And then we also see discipline incidents decreasing. And when I come out to visit, I'll talk to the principal, and it's real common for them to tell me they had at least a 50% reduction when this program was introduced. And then over time, academics will improve. We do not expect you to get all these kids to proficiency in the first year. We know that that takes time, but we want to set them, give them the tools they need to be successful. And here's another thing, kids need help every day, not once a week. So if you're gonna do, tutoring once a week, twice a week, that's not enough. That needs to happen every day. Because, if a kid's having a problem in math, they may be having a test, on Friday and they come to you on Wednesday and you say, well, yeah, wait till Friday. That's when we do our help, our tutoring. That's insufficient. So behavior will improve with the program. And, a few warning signs are, kids have trouble with following directions. And sometimes a kid will say they hate school and they get in trouble a lot. And sometimes the usual techniques just simply don't work. But after school programs tend to work. We get kids that are from special ed that during the school day, they need to have somebody with them one-on-one for behavior reasons. And they try out the after school and we say, listen, we can't give you a one-to-one person. And if you, continue to have behavior problems, you won't be able to attend the after school. And 95% of the time, these kids, the behavior issues disappear and they become part of the group and they're able to be successful. Another benefit of this program long-term is we've had local police departments report a reduction in youth crime because of the after-school programs. Sioux City Council Bluffs reports a 50% reduction. And this is not just 1 year. We're talking about a 10-year period in Council Bluffs. And Sioux City Police report similar declines. So we're changing lives for children, and this is benefiting the entire community. We're giving kids things to do, projects and interests that they have, which is a much better use of their time. Okay, here's the contract obligation, and this is in the contract you're going to get. The attendance, you have to do 70% of your goal, the goal that was set in your application. And then we expect you to get up to 80% by year 3. Now, do you know that the feds have 85%, and this contract was getting up to 90, and there are some states that require up to 100% attendance by year 3. But being a teacher, most of my career was with at-risk kids, and I knew that not only the at-risk kids, but kids with big chronic attendance problems, that was not going to be a reasonable measure. So I worked with the feds, and they approved us to have our 3-year goal at 80%. Now, the kicker is, if you're not meeting that goal, there's a variety of options. Typically, I might reduce your funding for the following year. And in other cases, we can even say, if you're not meeting the attendance goals, we can impose other measures. And those are all in the CFR, the Code of Federal Regulations. So every year you have to report your data online, and you have to submit a local evaluation to us, and that goes into our external state evaluation, where there's a little section in there for you, and it's almost done. This year it's 228 pages. Then we have best practice site visits and Department of Education visits. Now, the difference between the two is the Iowa After School Alliance is going to come out is focusing on the new people that have never had the grant, but we'll probably do Clinton this year, since you've got a new director to help you out, and then that prepares you for when I come out. And we the questions that I'm going to ask you are all posted online, so it's not a secret. We give you plenty of time to know what to expect and what to do. And we're not trying to zing anybody. We're just trying to make sure that the children get the program that they're supposed to be getting. Okay, even your budget submissions are an area where we monitor you. Your end of the year online report, which is a survey, That goes into our state evaluation. We have monthly webinars on various topics to help support your programs. And we expect you to participate in our workshops, conferences, and our committees. You have to do one committee for every cohort where you receive funding, with the exception of the one committee that's the new grantee staff transition committee. That is an additional one that we put new staff into, and if they've never had the grant before, you're going to go into that. So, and then of course, failure to meet the performance will impact your renewability in future years. And our payments are quarterly. We have a new online system called CASA, and you'll send in a claim spreadsheet in addition to a general ledger. However, sometimes I may ask you some questions. And if I do, don't think that I'm, trying to lower the hammer. I am always looking at different stuff. A couple of months ago, I was looking at cell phone usage. So I asked a couple of people that I saw in their general ledger that they had, expenditures for cell phones, and I wanted to find out a little more. That's just part of what I do, because then the feds all ask me, what are you doing for monitoring? And then I always say, well, yeah, I looked at this and here's what I found. And so everybody's being monitored in these federal programs. If you have an audit or something, let me know right away, because I've got a little experience dealing with the auditors. Sometimes they get a little bent out of shape over the numbers, but I can usually explain, what we're doing, because we have a few differences in this program. One of them is we have a limit of 8% for administrative costs. And not only administrative, that's also your indirect costs. And so that's different. If you have some experience with other federal grants, you may be able to have a larger indirect cost in addition to an administrative cost. In Iowa, we want the majority of the money from this grant to go to serve children. That's why it's set like that. Okay, compliance with statutes, regulations, state law, plan, and everything in the application. So that's one of the things that I'm looking at. And it seems kind of onerous, but if you look at that checklist, we've kind of broken it down and it's pretty straightforward. Okay, at any time I can ask you for documents, papers, or other records. And that's just part of my job with monitoring. And you're required to keep records. If you're buying things, you need to keep receipts. And you may have, if you have a question about whether something is allowable, just shoot me a quick email, and I'm happy to answer those questions for you. So whatever you do, don't pay for things in cash. Get a receipt and keep that receipt. Okay. The way this grant is set up, you're going to get 3 years of full funding, and then your grant will be reduced 25% for the years 4 and 5. And that's because of sustainability. This grant is also a little different than other federal grants because we require you to go out and develop community partners so you can be sustainable for the long term. That's why by the end of year 3, it's kind of a check if you've got enough partners to sustain a 25% reduction. And we've never had a problem. The reduction used to be go down to 50%, and I didn't think that was fair. And so I worked with the feds to get it approved to be only 25%. And I think that's reasonable. So you'll be notified to schedule a visit after your 3 years. If you don't schedule a visit or fail to provide required information, your grant will contractually end after 3 years. So keep that in mind. We've actually had some people end their grant after 3 years because they didn't want me to come out and do a comprehensive visit. You know, that's a big red flag for something's going on that they don't want me to find out about. But anyway, we did it that way to kind of save on all the paperwork required for termination, you know, so it allows you to do that on your own. Anyway, another thing is renewability of awards. We have to base renewability on your previous sub-grant period according to ESSA rules. And, you know, for the most part, that's not a big deal. Where we have problems is there's a few that won't contact me when something goes wrong, and they wait too long, and then they get, you know, themselves into a pickle. Let me just say this too. In the future, rather, they're going to try to do away with letters of non-compliance, but they're going to put it into CASA, and it's going to stay in there for a long time. And I always would advocate that you contact me first. Let's solve these things before they become non-compliance issues. And we don't want, you know, to make this thing get worse than it is. Okay, here's a really good summary of what you should be doing. Planning your program right now, hiring staff, buying supplies, enrolling students, take attendance, communicate activities, work with the school principal and staff, hold a family engagement meeting. We require a minimum of 1 per quarter. And enroll in a best practice committee. Make sure you're attending our professional development and events, and submit your claims on time with documentation. You know, with the new system, if you don't submit a claim, or if you forget to do it 1 quarter, that counts against you. You know, when I used to do these by hand and you mailed them in, it didn't matter if we didn't even have a window. You just mailed it to me when you got around to it. Well, you know, things change. With this online system, they want me to make sure by every Friday, I've got all my claims completed and approved. That's not hard on me, but sometimes, you know, in the field, you guys may have an issue that prevents you from submitting your claim. Again, if you have an issue, contact me, okay? Because I can probably stop them from putting the negative stuff in the system against you. And we will email you about the APR data reporting. Keep in mind that we have already sent out 2 reminders, and you want to make sure that you get that done because that goes to Congress. Congress actually reads that data that we put in. Okay. Childcare contrasted with 21st century. We're a federal title program, and it requires us to provide academic support. And childcare programs don't have that requirement. A lot of childcare is more focused on, you know, just keeping the kids safe and, you know, doing some activities, but they don't require a focus on literacy and bridging the achievement gap. So here's a chart that you can compare. we have the academics, childcare, or DHS does not. We're a federal program, they're a state program. We have a competition to apply. For DHS, you just have to fill out a form. Ours takes 9 months for the application, and I don't know what it takes for DHS, but I know it's faster than 9 months. We have a community partner requirement. They don't. We discourage fees. I think that fees are okay with some of the DHS programs, and a reduction in funds is after 3 years. With DHS, if you have trainings, they will increase your money. So there's a lot of differences. Now, let me say this. We work well with DHS. If you participate with DHS, they require you to have certain PD, and a lot of our conference and a lot of our workshops qualify for DHS childcare credits as in terms of PD. So you may be able to use that to your advantage. We also have a 21st century grantee timeline, and we've divided that up into PD and other activities, and Crystal will be sending you those. We also have a guide to family engagement, and we are going to be working on guides for the other areas so that we'll have a lot of support available for you. And these are the two websites that you want to make reference to. One is the Iowa Department of Education website, and then the second one is iowa21cclc.com. That's a site that provides a lot of resources and support, and it's also my archive site. Every grant since I've been on board, we've put online, and it's in a searchable database. Also, your partners, you're required to send in a list every year, and we post that list online at the iowa21cclc.com site. And we have over 700 partners, so we're #1 in the country in terms of partners.
Yeah. Vic, if I could interrupt for just 1 second.
Sure.
I do want to say almost every single document that you are having in the chat and that I will send out today can also be found on that iowa21cclc.com site. I did pop both of those links directly into the chat as well.
Okay.
And again, as you can see on this screenshot, I literally just wanted to have you see a screenshot of these documents. We'll go ahead and put those in the chat. And then if you have questions about them, I am more than happy to discuss those with you either individually, or we can have a meeting to discuss them as a group, whichever you prefer.
Yep. And when you go to that website, I would encourage you to sign up for the monthly newsletter. That is from the Alliance, and it's focused on after school. Now, I tend to contribute a few things to it. One of the most valuable for you is mini grants. When I get an opportunity for mini grants, I give it to the Alliance. They'll put it in the newsletter. That way, I'm not always sending out an email. And I always like to hear if somebody applies and gets those mini grants. That's always good to know that, people are reading through this, and we are providing good resources for you. But I know the one coming up will have a mini grant in there. So if you're not on the newsletter, make sure you go to that website, iowa21cclc.com, and sign up for it. And it's free. Okay, enroll kids in your program, recruit teachers and community groups, buy your supplies and your snacks, have a parent engagement meeting, have a budget planning meeting, monitor how your program's operating, and if you need help, contact me. And the Iowa After School Alliance will do a best practice visit on your first year to help you with your PD partnerships and resources to help you succeed. Okay, focus on the needs of kids. One of the things that we are advocating for is that programs provide full meals to kids. And, you know, we've got another partner that's going to help you pay for that. It's called U.S. Department of Agriculture, and our Bureau of Food and Nutrition has already done a webinar. They're also going to be at the Impact Conference in the fall. And you can get extra money in your program by providing these full meals. What the Boys and Girls Club do that I like is they partner with the food bank to purchase a full meal, and they can take advantage of buying power and provide it at a lower cost than if they were trying to do it all on their own. So work on getting your community partners together, and, you know, just go ahead and talk to people, because everyone is concerned about the welfare of kids, and you'd be surprised that it's easier than you thought to get these partners and let them help you in your programs. You've got to gather your data, and the data helps us validate our work. You know, since I've been on board, 3 times they tried to completely eliminate this program, but we use data like a shield to deflect the zingers that were coming our way in terms of, oh yeah, this program's not effective. Well, we have the data to prove we are making a difference for kids, and that's critical for us staying around for another 20 years. Okay, and improving our evaluation. It's been getting better over time. They just did a national evaluation of the program, Deborah Vandell in California. And guess who had the most data? Iowa. And, you know, that's because systematically we've been collecting those evaluations, posting them online. And, you know, we don't get as much money as some of the bigger states, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be doing a quality job. And, you know, you guys are doing a fantastic work with kids. And, you know, our job is to help make sure that we're doing our job in reporting the data, archiving it, sharing it out to the, you know, the policy people and all, sharing it with the U.S. Department of Ed, researchers and things, so that we get credit for the great work that's going on here in Iowa. We have committees there to help you develop a community of practice, because you're not alone. There's other sites out there that are having similar issues. What you should do is look for a committee that in an area that you may need help in. So family engagement may be a committee that you want to participate in, so that you can get some ideas and share some of your problems with other people. And they might have something they're doing that will work well for you. Maybe evaluation is an area that you want to improve in. And so you should always try to pick a committee to join where you're going to need some help. Committees help us to improve our work. And, you know, this is just going to make us a lot stronger. Now, reading is our top priority, along with math. We report reading and math data to Congress via our APR system. We also provide absolutely free reading training in reading for your non-teaching staff, because anybody that's working with kids, we may end up with situations where we got to provide some training for the staff. So it's been well received. We've had 2 years now of this training, and we're going to work on a 3rd year coming up. Okay, family engagement, 4 meetings a year. Now, when you send in your claim spreadsheet, I'm going to look at the category family engagement. And if I don't see any expenses, first thing that I think is, hey, you didn't have your required family engagement meeting. I might send you an email about it. So make sure that, you've got some expense there, and it doesn't have to be much. If I see, $10 in there, I'm going to assume that you had your meeting. So let families know about your program, showcase activities in your meetings, recognize the achievements of the children. That's huge. A child that had attendance problems, giving them an award at a family engagement meeting for perfect attendance in the after school program, that's going to really make their day. A child that had behavior issues, and they've improved on that, give them a little certificate. Celebrate the success of these kids. A lot of times they don't get told enough that they're doing well. They only, sometimes we spend too much time in the negative, telling them they're doing something wrong. So this is an opportunity for you to again, change little lives. Partner with your community college because we need to support adult literacy. And your community colleges have programs for adults to get their, used to be the GED, now it's something else, but they also have other programs geared to adults. And they're happy to come out and be at a parent engagement meeting, share information about the core classes they have, and most of the classes for adults are free. Partner with a local restaurant to provide food for your meetings. Do a cultural potluck to share different foods and learn about each other's different cultures and backgrounds. Ask your parents to volunteer on field trips or a Saturday event. And we've got a lot more ideas in that guide to family engagement. Again, here's some websites. The Iowa Department of Education and the Iowa 21cclc.com website. So we have a guidance document on attendance that's posted on the department website. Make sure that you have engaging activities, because one of the things that kids do is they vote with their feet. If you just are trying to copy the during the day school, it's not going to work. You've got to have interesting things for them. And one of the things that the kids really love is doing a field trip. And our program is one of the few out there that actually encourages you to have those field trips. Our site visits are designed to not only to monitor that you're doing the right thing, but also to look for good things you're doing. It's real common for me to go on a site visit and say, you're really doing that well. Would you like to do a webinar for us, in a couple of months? Because other people could benefit from what you're doing here. And I might even ask you to do a session at Impact based on a site visit. So I'm looking for the good things that I see. It's not all about, oh, you're not doing this right. It's a combination of everything. Then we have a document called The Importance of Field Trips, and it has a lot of information on why you should do them with some resources. And of course, I can't say enough about community partnerships. Because of community partnerships, it's like having an extra layer of funding. And our community partners bring in new ideas and excitement to the kids. Just something simple like going over to the local fire department and asking them, hey, in the spring or summer, during summer school, can you bring the fire engine and talk about, fire safety with the kids? They would get really excited to have that fire engine pull up in front of your school. Okay. In Iowa, we do things a little different than in other states. We have more community partners. We have reading average at 65%. The state of Illinois, the average reading average is like 41%. We have good attendance. We're at 59%. We're above the national average, which is 50 something. And about half of our sites feed kids a full meal. Now, some states don't allow food. So yeah, it's, anyway, we have really strong support for you with monthly webinars, online resources, our committees, site visits, technical assistance, our conference, and the fact that we're accessible. We're just an email or a phone call away if you have a question. That's huge for taking care of things before they get to be big problems. Benjamin Franklin said, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And I think that's a good model to operate a program, at least at the state level, by. Now, Iowa ranks first in the nation in the percent of kids under 6 with both parents in the labor force. So keep that in mind when you're having your parent night. It's not going to be easy for them to come to these meetings. So you want to do something like recognize their children when you're having these meetings, and maybe providing a meal, because they're really struggling. And we want to do everything we can to support these children and their parents. So improving attendance is an essential strategy for reducing achievement gaps. And Hetty Chang said that. And she's a national advocate for improving attendance. And if you don't meet these grant goals, we'll have to reduce funding in the following year in your grant. So let's say that come September, your attendance isn't what it should be, and I notice it, and I say something to you, and you say, okay, yeah, we'll take care of it. We've got 4 quarters, so no change happens second, third, and that fourth quarter then, when I see those numbers and you didn't have that improvement, I have no choice but in your following contract to go ahead and reduce that based on the number of kids you're actually serving. And here's why. When you applied for this funding, it was based on the number of kids. So if you said you were going to serve 100 kids and you're only serving 50, and you think, well, yeah, it's too hard to serve 100 kids. We're just going to, skate by with serving 50. Well, that's only going to work for so long. And then year 2, you're only going to get the money for 50 kids that you're actually serving. So keep that in mind. This program is about the kids. Every quarter, when you turn in your attendance form, you're going to put on the number of kids that are enrolled and your average daily attendance for the quarter. Okay. And on your application, you should be monitoring your attendance on a regular basis. So if you said 100 kids on your application in year 1, you should have 70. At the end of the year, you should be up there to 70%. So you're getting money for 100 kids, and maybe you've got 72 kids at the end of the first year, you won't receive a reduction in funding. At the end of year 3, you should have 80%. So you should be over 80 kids. I think that's pretty reasonable. So here's a good example of best practice. Council Bluffs receives funding for 1,224 kids, and they were serving 3,923 because of community partners. So, it's not like I'm setting impossible goals, and I realize too that every community is a little different, and we will do our best to accommodate, those little nuances in each community. Here's another first in the country. Iowa was the first state to issue guidance on working with kids with disabilities. And we got, our attorney wrote some guidance on there, and now I think another 10 states have issued similar guidance to ours, but we were the first. And there's even a couple states that in their guidance give us credit for, the ideas that they borrowed from us. We also have 10 guides from the federal government on working with kids and disabilities in this program. So you also want to work with your district special ed people just to make sure that we're not excluding any kids who could benefit from this program. Here's a couple of pictures. These came out of the evaluations that you guys had sent in this year, and it's just showing some of the kids doing activities. We also want to do things in STEM and include computer science. And in the ESSA, we are allowed to do non-traditional educational teaching methods. And to that, I say, chess, that's one of the oldest STEM activities. It's very inexpensive, and it meets many of the computational thinking standards of the National Computer Science Curriculum. It meets a lot of the Common Core math standards, and it's wonderful for kids. If you've ever watched the movie Brooklyn Castle, it's a great documentary about how kids from inner city of New York could use chess as a vehicle to improve their self-esteem and achievement. And we have the first document, this documents the first African-American chess masters from this middle school in Brooklyn, New York. And they showed it to us in Washington, D.C. a few years ago. And that's when I said, well, yeah, we need to do this in Iowa. And these are pictures from Des Moines. They had a chess tournament, and there was like over 100 people showed up to watch their kids playing chess for 2 hours. Now, keep in mind, these were kids that had attendance issues and had principal referrals. And the classroom teacher would say, this kid can't sit still for 2 hours. They can't in my, what I'm doing in my class. But you see, it's something that they chose, that they're interested in, and it makes all the difference in the world. It's another one of my things that I like to provide emphasis. Our kids need food. They need food not only to grow, but for their brains to develop. And the good nutrition helps them in more ways than we can imagine. And there's a lot of research, and it's growing, that good nutrition helps kids to do better academically. Imagine if we could reduce the achievement gap by about 10 points just by serving nutritious meals. According to the research, we probably could if we would just focus on the kids. So we want to do the right thing for kids. And food is a very important part of young people's lives, and we've got a best practice webinar on that from our food and nutrition, and there's a link to the website, and you can apply. They have a couple of programs. One is for the summer. It's called the summer feeding program. And not only can the kids who come into summer school eat, but they can bring in their little brothers and sisters to eat as well. And it's all picked up by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Okay, once again, support and monitoring. The first visit is generally by the IAA, and they do a best practice visit to just help you get started. And then later will be a visit from me, and we've got an 11-page checklist that was posted online. And also the comprehensive site visit is posted online, so you can see all the questions that I'm going to ask way ahead of time and be prepared. And all of these things are tied to the federal statutes that we're required to do for this program. So, you know, it's kind of a support. Okay, so did you have something to say?
Do you want me to take this slide?
Yeah, let me have a drink break.
Yeah, you take a drink. So you've been working hard. So as Vic said, 3 levels of site visits. One of those is a best practice site visit that's done by the Iowa After School Alliance, AKA me. So I'll be coming out to your site to do these. These are really just, you can kind of think of them as a prep visit for your official Iowa Department of Education site visit. We'll start scheduling these in the fall of 2021. So as I said, I'll come to you, I'll come during program hours, but also have a little bit of time for us to have some discussion as well. Really, I'm collecting some real basic data, wanting to know, you know, how many students you're serving, how many staff do you have, how many volunteers are you engaging? And we know that this is still going to be a little bit different because of the pandemic, but we're starting to move back towards that normal. I'll also talk to you about what your site goals are, your partners, best practices that are currently in place, and I'll do a little bit of observation as well, because there may be other best practices that you're not aware of, or I may be able to make a few suggestions to you for either best practices or partners, although again, you guys are certainly the experts. We'll also talk through your plan for professional development and how the Iowa After School Alliance and/or VIC can support that plan. And then finally, just again, anything else that we can do for you. Really, I hope you all know by now, those of you who have worked with me for these last couple of years, you know that again, as Vic has the best interest in mind, we too at the Iowa After School Alliance have your best interest in mind as well. We are certainly here to help you in any way we can. I hope you never, ever hesitate to reach out to us, whether it's in connection to the best practice site visit or anything else as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of you this fall. Vic, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Crystal. And let me just say that Crystal was a program director at 2 sites in Cedar Rapids before, you know, coming on board with the Iowa After School Alliance. So she knows, you know, what you guys are going through. Okay, here's a really good reading strategy. And I've actually got the Iowa Core standard that you meet by doing a read aloud to the children. They like it, and we're meeting a Iowa Core standard. And, you know, this is something that with kids being cooped up during a pandemic, I would suggest if you could go outside on a nice day, read to them outdoors, you know, gather around a tree. And, you know, this would be something that the kids really need to get a little extra sunshine after all of this. So we've got a ton of strategies. I am also a certified reading teacher and certified with computer science. So, you know, we've got the correct background to provide you with all this support. Okay, here's just a little glimpse of the monitoring checklist. And one question here is, you know, are you providing 60 hours of contact time a month? Now, it sounds like a lot, but really that's 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. Now that's what used to be in grant agreement, but when it was written like that, you couldn't do anything on a Saturday or a Sunday. By 60 hours a month, we now open the doors. If you want to do something on a Saturday, like a nice field trip, you can, and you will be reimbursed. So, it's just changing the way we think about it. And when I go on a site visit, I like to talk to the kids because they're going to give me unscripted information. I'll ask them about, do they like the program? What was their favorite activity in the program? Are they making friends? And I'll ask them about the snack. One time a child told me, we don't have enough time to eat our snack and we have to throw it away because they want to tell us to go back in. Well, I dug into what was going on, and it turns out they were taking them in stages, just like during the day in the school lunchroom. But those poor kids that were in the last group, they never had enough time to finish their snack. So, a little meeting with me, and they changed their policies. So they brought in all the kids all at once, and they all had sufficient time to eat their snack. And, little things that we sometimes thinking as adults getting our programs, we forget to see how that impacts the kids. Okay, here's different kinds of monitoring that I do. Budget monitoring, I do site visits, and I do desk monitoring. And another thing that the feds added to us was risk assessment. And now we're going through a process of taking the risk assessment on 21st century and putting it into the CASA system. So as I learn more about how these things are going to play out, I will be communicating to you. Another thing is we used to have a meeting once a year, and it was like a half-day meeting. We've decided to make that a monthly meeting that's about an hour. And that way, as it's more timely, when I find out something, I can share it with you without you having to wait for months and months. And you have more of an opportunity to ask me questions, and we share best practices. So be prepared for those monthly director meetings. And make sure that you're attending or sending somebody to represent you, because attendance on these things is being tracked. And this year was the first time that I put in comments on your grant to say, whether you'd done a good job or whether you needed improvement. Here's just a little graphic about all the different ways we communicate and how there's monitoring. I don't want you to have anxiety when you know that I'm going to come out for a visit. What I'm looking for is, are you taking care of the needs of kids? That's the most important thing. So a lot of the requirements are already embedded in the application. So you've already seen them when you filled out the application. Site visit documents are on the IDOE website, and you've got months and months to review them. And if you have a question, you can ask me via email or phone. You're going to receive reminder emails on just about everything. And, just follow the guidance and you'll be in good shape. These are some requirements for us as a state. We are required to have regular systematic reviews of the subgrantees and to monitor you guys for compliance with regulations and statutes. So we do that, didn't want you to think that, this was something I invented. However, I will say that the feds have been very good about giving us, some flexibility. We've gone from a state that when I started, were non-compliance and we couldn't release any money. till we fix the issues. Now, we're kind of their example, and they're always having other states contact me with for advice. So that's a good place to be. And in 2019, we were actually featured in the New Directors Toolkit from the U.S. Department of Education. And the two areas we were in, one was monitoring, and the other was our sustainability plan. And since that time, they've also discovered that we're way ahead on partners. And then the latest thing is our evaluation committee is way ahead of everyone on developing a data sharing template. So they want me to do a presentation on that come July. So that's a good place to be. Here's a kind of showing you a map of how things work. We've got all these things to kind of support you. And we want you to be successful. Oh yeah, here's a screenshot of the importance of field trips. I would advise you to get that. That's a really good document. You can contact Iowa DNR. There's a lot of things kids can do outside to learn about nature. And field trips are wonderful because kids learn from those experiences. We also want you to have community college partnerships. Not only will they help you with your adult literacy component, you can get college volunteers to work in your program. You can get pre-service teachers to work in your program. You can do field trips to the college to have kids learn about, what the benefits of higher education are. And, it's a really good, mutually beneficial partnership for you to have. And here's a map of Iowa community colleges. And anywhere in Iowa, you have accessibility to at least one. Sometimes where you're at, you can partner with more than one college. We don't care. We actually, if you could do more than one college, that's better for your program. But there's nowhere in Iowa where there's a gray area that says no college available. So, this is all a wonderful situation for you. I've never heard of any college that when you ask them to partner, that they would say flat out no. They have a federal grant to provide adult literacy education, and they want to get more people enrolled in those programs. So generally, they're going to be very happy. Here's some other statewide partners that you can take advantage of. Iowa Ag Literacy Foundation. Now they'll send out a classroom set of their books, and you just have to pay the postage. You can't beat a deal like that. They have mini grants. They even have a free game to learn about farming. It's available as an app for tablets or for a cell phone. IPTV Education, they offer the PBS after school content. They'll send a trainer to your site for free. What a deal. State Library of Iowa, we've got 793 libraries around the state, more than school districts. And I've never met a librarian who, if you ask them to help you with improving literacy for the children, would tell you, no, I'm not interested in that. They would smile and be so happy to be involved. So these are partnerships waiting to happen. Silos and Smokestacks is another good source, and we have hundreds more partners in our list that we have on the Iowa21cclc.com website. Here's an example of Iowa Ag Literacy. They've got a book about wind farming. They've got one about corn, of course, and I think they've got 5 or 6 of them coming out now. And then there's the game, Farming 2050. So we're required to track community partners, and every year we're going to send you a notice and saying, send us your partners, and we'll post that online. So for professional development, we have this orientation. We have the Impact After School Conference, spring and summer workshops, best practice webinars that are monthly. We have our committees that meet every other month, except for the new grantee committee that meets every month, because it's going to help you go over all aspects of working on this program. Other meetings as required and technical assistance as needed. So every year we provide a huge amount of PD, and it's all designed to help you be successful. And you may see an agenda for a national conference. And sometimes those sessions are people that wrote a book and they want to sell the copies of their book. And it's difficult to take that and put it in a usable form that you can take back and help kids with. So for our state conference, we try to have a majority of best practice sessions that are from people running programs doing some great things that you can take back. Our impact for this year is going to be in September 22nd to 24th in Des Moines at the Holiday Inn. And then we've moved to Zoom virtual meetings for our workshops. But, if you guys want, we could maybe do an in-person one again. We'll see how that goes. We have a professional development committee, and, they're going to decide how these things are going to play out. We also record our sessions, and we've got a website, a link for that. So the committees we have are communications, partnerships and sustainability, evaluation, family engagement, PD, program support, and of course the new grantee staff transition. Okay, if you have some, new staff, like maybe you've got a building coordinator, you may want to put them in this committee. If you're a new director, you are automatically required to be in this committee. If you've never had a grant before, you're required to be in this committee. And because we don't want you to fail, we want you to be successful. So it takes regular meetings like this to give you the information in little pieces so it's digestible. This comes from the federal regulations about changes in personnel that you're required to notify me. Not if you just have to hire an extra worker that's passing out milk in the lunchroom, but we're talking about if you have new site coordinators, if you have a new program director, a new finance person, those kind of key things. And we also have a finance guide for the finance person, and just like a ton of support for you. Here's our PD activity report that we require you to send in once a year, and we use that to help plan future PD and to see where areas of need are. And the technical assistance we provide is absolutely free. Just about any area that you need help with, we will, be there and willing to help you. Nothing makes me happier to go visiting on a site and I see lots of little smiling faces, having fun, enjoying their snack, enjoying their meal, playing, making friends. That shows me that we're making a difference in the lives of children.
Yeah. Vic, we have a question in the chat from Laura. He said the PD logs are annual versus quarterly. And I think there's just a little bit of a distinction here. So Vic, do you want to talk about how PD is reflected in the CASA system connected to the financial claim? And then I'm happy to address the annual document as well.
Okay. Well, we started out doing the PD for the Alliance as an annual document. And that's one we want to keep doing. But now in the CASA system, I think we're going to be phasing out the quarterly PD requirement. Unless there's a compliance issue that I need to be monitoring, some specific PD that you need to do to get out of compliance. So things have been changing a little bit, but that's a good question.
Yeah. And then regarding that template, so this is a way for the Iowa After School Alliance to support the work specifically of the Professional Development Committee to think about where we want to focus our efforts in providing professional development to the entire 21st Century Network. So by having you submit that annual document to us, which is typically due in September, end of September, it allows us to kind of see where we're ebbing and flowing, where we might have a need, where we could maybe beef up something if that's something that we need to do. So I'll give you a quick example of that. Probably the number one category that people have there, the most PD in, are all of those required things. So your bloodborne pathogens, your mandatory child abuse, most of those are district offered, district required. So we kind of do like a hands-off approach to that. However, this last year, we noticed that there was a real big decline in professional development around family engagement. So we're doing some really intentional focus and planning around how we can approach increasing opportunities for that during best practice webinars and at the Impact Conference. That's why that information is important to us. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, and a lot of this, I have noticed that it was, in the past, it was hard for people to spend the required 5% on PD. But you can go to AEA PD online, and they have a lot of classes. I think they have like a mandatory reporting class, and it's pretty reasonable. It's actually cheaper than hiring someone and paying them to do that. So they have a lot of classes that will count as PD. The committee meetings will count as your PD as well. Conferences, workshops you attend all count as PD. And we're keeping track of it to see how we can help you to make sure you're spending your required 5%. So the more information we have, the better we can assist you on that. Okay, here's just a copy of the link to the finance document. Data and evaluation, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Sorry for the quick interruption again. Vic, I did drop the 21st Century Guide to Iowa Program Budget, the PowerPoint slide deck for budgets for new grantees, and the Iowa Financial Guidance from December of 2019 into the chat. Again, those will all be sent out after the meeting for you as well.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so there's 2 evaluations every year you participate in. One is the local one where you have a local evaluator, and that's sent to me by November 30th. And the second is the state evaluation. We go through the local evaluations. We actually spend the winter reading them, and we may ask questions, maybe some of the data isn't adding up correctly, or there's a missing piece. So our state evaluators may contact you directly. Sometimes I'll ask to talk to you, maybe if you've got some local objectives that you're not meeting, and I think that maybe you could modify those. My goal long-term is to have you with good, reasonable, measurable objectives that you're going to meet. Sometimes you may have something on there that we need to talk about. Do you really need to have this in there? So you need to report your data is always 1 year behind. So your local evaluator always has plenty of time to gather the data that we need. Now, this year is going to be a challenge because of the pandemic. We didn't have a lot of those measures, but keep in mind, I will accept anything in Iowa. You can take, if the student passed from one grade to another, you can use their grades as a measure for, reporting. It doesn't have to be an assessment, a formal test. So we want to leave it open because we're more interested in the child succeeding than just simply their score on a test. Because this is about making them better prepared to succeed in life. Okay, so these are some requirements on us as a state. Do we conduct a comprehensive evaluation? And of course we do. It's required by federal statute. Does the state have performance indicators and measures to evaluate programs? And we do. We look at the GEPRA measures because that's the same for everybody. And then you can have additional local measures that are unique to you. And at the very bottom, this is why we tell you you must put your local evaluation online on your website, because we're required by statute to make the evaluations available to the public. And I can tell you it's a whole lot cheaper just to post it to your website than to mail out those local evaluations to all the families that are participating in your program. How much would that cost you in postage and printing? Okay, here's the wonderful website that everyone should visit and bookmark. It's the 21st Century website. And this is where every year in September, we're going to post the information about a new competition. And we have a lot of other information here that's official. We post the award notices here. We post the state evaluation documents here. So there's a lot of good stuff on here that you should visit this for. Here's an evaluation timeline. It's just a screenshot of it, and it just kind of tells you where you should be. So April and May, you should be collecting assessment data. If you don't have it, then take a look at how else you can do it, maybe with grades. I'm going to be working with our state evaluators to come up with a document for some alternative ways that you can report in this upcoming evaluation, and we'll be sending that out to you as soon as we get it completed. So June and July, you're going to look at all the data that you have, and in August, working on your reports. And remember, these aren't due until November 30th. And if you need an extension, that's not a problem. So here's the other part of that. We start looking at them in November, and then normally we get this done in April, but with the pandemic, we were kind of behind the 8 ball. My contract for state evaluation didn't get finalized until January this year, so it took us a little longer, but we're all rolling through some bumps in the road due to the pandemic, but we're going to get over it, and we're going to move ahead and continue to do our best for kids. Okay, there's a survey that's sent out from the Iowa After School Alliance, but it's actually required because it's a survey that we have questions on there that we put into the state evaluation. So we review this with our evaluation committee every year. And, it doesn't change too much. We might change one question or so every year, but that's about it. And then the APR, we're going to have a webinar on June 22nd about the new measures. And we'll send you the Zoom link as soon as it's available.
Yeah,
Now,
sorry about that.
That's all right. You're going to send it out to everyone anyway. The most common thing is on the APR is people forget their password. And it happens to me too, because every 60 days, the system makes you completely redo it. And if you make a little mistake, it's difficult. You have to go in there and reset it. So there's a link to that. And if you have a problem, just contact Tim Glenn at the Iowa Department of Education. He can reset your account. And then you should always try to do more than the minimum for kids. 60 hours a month is the minimum contact time. But if you provide more contact time for these kids, they're going to respond. You're going to have greater gains in bridging that achievement gap. You're going to have, kids that are going to do better. There's a lot of research on that. But when states impose a standard, they generally oppose the minimums. So we set ours at the minimum amount of contact time that the research says you will make a difference academically for kids. The federal system also requires a minimum of 30 days of summer school be able to enter data. And so my suggestion is you offer 35, so you have wiggle room. Kids that are chronically absent, it's hard for them to attend every single day, even when they like the program. So if you only offer 30 days and you've got a kid that really tried hard and they were only able to attend 29, you can't report them. Well, if you did 35 days and they attended 33, you could report them. So try to get your kids excited about learning so that they attend every day because of the after school program. And now we'll wrap this session up with questions.
So feel free to unmute, or if it's better or easier for you to drop those questions into the chat, that's great. Again, I'm going to be sending a ton of documents out to you after this presentation today. I'll probably have to send it in a couple, 2 or 3 emails just to make your lives a little bit better or easier. I'll try to group them accordingly. The chat was crazy busy today with links and documents and things like that, but I'll download that and it will be available for you to access as well. What questions do we have today? Can we provide pizza as a meal on a parents' night, Vic?
Okay. Well, technically you shouldn't be buying a parents of pizza because they've got a job, but if they're bringing their kids, you can provide the pizza for the children. And, I'm not going to be telling you that I need to zoom in just to make sure that no parents are having a slice of pizza. And, what a great opportunity for you to contact that pizza place and say, we'd like to have your menu at this parent meeting. Could you donate a couple of pizzas for this event? And, we want to help you grow your business. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to end up with some free pizzas and a new partner.
Great. Any
Good
other
question. Any
questions
more?
today? Again, feel free to unmute or drop into the chat. Vic, it's almost like we have some seasoned sight to 21st century on the call today.
Yeah, well, just about everybody has, everybody I think has already had the funding before, and that's okay. But, we still have to have these, meetings just to give you the overview of all the things, because even a seasoned program, there might be a couple of things that slipped by them. And there's always room for improvement. We're not serving all the kids that need help in Iowa. And, until we do, I'm going to keep plugging away that our focus needs to be on the kids.
Absolutely. So if there are no other questions, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up our call today. If you give me just a little bit of time to do the download and the upload, I will send out the recording of this as well as those materials. We'll also have this posted to the website that you can reference back everything that you need to. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.